Education advocates, faith leaders, and the state's largest teachers union all head to the Indiana Statehouse, all gathering and uniting over a bill that would hold back many Indiana third graders.
Our Statehouse reporter Emily Longnecker tonight explains why so many are now speaking out about this issue.
Yeah, their focus was on Senate Bill 1 and how well third graders in Indiana are reading. The statistics don't paint a great picture, and education advocates agree that something needs to be done, but how to fix the problem is part of the ongoing debate.
We stand today at a crossroads in the education of our youngest Hoosiers.
These education advocates agree with lawmakers when it comes to literacy. Indiana is in crisis.
This is not just an academic issue. It is a matter that affects the future success of our children in education and in life.
Recent statistics show 1 in 5 Indiana students can't read by the end of third grade. But when it comes to changing that, these folks who came to the Statehouse don't think holding a student back a grade is the way to go.
We do think that the bill still places too much of an emphasis on retention, and that's the part that we would like to see adjusted.
Under SB 1, all students would take the iRead test in second grade instead of third grade. Students who fail the test in second grade could get reading help. If they fail the test again in third grade, the student would be held back. Education advocates worry what that will mean for teachers and class size.
How are you going to rebalance teaching? Because we know that these are kids that already need more support, as well as all of the other fresh third graders that need that reading support.
Education advocates say instead of focusing on retention, more emphasis needs to be put on identifying struggling readers before kindergarten, making sure schools have updated reading materials and technology, along with support staff like reading specialists.
We do applaud the spotlight that is being placed on this issue, and we think it's important for us to get it right.
What that looks like, though, is different depending on who you ask. And lawmakers say that literacy is a top priority this session. Lawmakers on the House Education Committee will hear testimony tomorrow on SB 1. Literacy and the problems with third graders reading also at the top of Governor Holcomb's agenda this session.
Well, the 2024 election is just a little over 9 months away, which means you can expect to start seeing political ads if you're not already seeing them.
The Senate is now hearing a bill that would make it sure if artificial intelligence is used in those ads. That way, if it is used, you'll be notified about it up front.
You would know beforehand. And 13 News Statehouse reporter Emily Longnecker is here with the discussion surrounding this bill today. Emily?
Yeah, artificial intelligence and how to tell what's real and what's not is certainly a topic being discussed in a lot of places, and the Statehouse is no different when it comes to a bill dealing with campaign commercials. House Bill 1133 already passed unanimously out of the House. Now it's the Senate's turn to get a look at the bill. Lawmakers on the Election Committee heard details this morning from its author.
People have the right to know whether what they're seeing, hearing, or reading is truth or fiction. If we just require a disclaimer, campaign strategists may think twice about having to tell someone ads are not completely forthcoming.
Under House Bill 1133, any images, video, or audio that changes a candidate or elected official's appearance, conduct, or speech without the person saying it's okay must put a disclaimer on it so someone who sees it knows it's not real. Without a disclaimer, a candidate or office holder can sue. Some lawmakers questioned if the bill could contain more safeguards against false information.
There is kind of this gap here that a candidate themselves could provide misinformation or mistruths about themselves or their own campaign, and there would be no civil or criminal recourse for that.
Monday's discussion also involved the possibility of banning artificial intelligence from being used to depict an election worker doing or saying something that never happened.
Today's AI is already outdated, and that's how fast this is moving. And so I think we're ready to take a look at this ahead of the 2024 election.
The committee did not vote on this bill today, but the conversation on AI is certainly not going away. It is here, it is constantly evolving, and these lawmakers say it needs to be addressed.
Also at the Statehouse, an effort to honor a 13-year-old killed in a school bus crash back in 2018.
So the crash happened along US 31 near Argus while Owen Abbott was on a field trip with his class. The school bus he was riding in stopped at a rail crossing when it was hit from behind by a trailer truck.
In the time that has passed since Owen's death, we've seen 7 other major crashes at that rail crossing. 38 people have been hurt. So now the state's building a bridge over those tracks, and state lawmakers want to name the bridge in Abbott's honor.
Owen's last words were, "Look out, we're going to die." I'm sorry. His mother is in the room and I feel her pain. We are spending around $23 million to build this grade separation, and it's worth every penny.
Oh, your heart just breaks for that family. Now the House Roads and Transportation Committee has voted unanimously approving the request to name the bridge after Owen.
And it's no secret, we've talked about it here before. Indiana needs nurses. Some estimates show the state needs 5,000 more nurses by 2031.
And that is just to keep up with an aging population that, of course, is going to need more care. As Statehouse reporter Emily Longnecker tells us, a bill in front of the Senate right now is attempting to address this shortage by the number of nursing students. Take a look.
Yeah, it's no secret that there's a nursing shortage around the country, with many leaving the profession during COVID, and Indiana is no exception. This morning, senators heard about a bill in committee that attempts to address the bottleneck, slowing down new nurses from entering the profession. Right now, when a student nurse is training at a medical facility, they're required to work one-on-one with a nurse who has at least 18 months experience. House Bill 1259 gives hospitals the choice of removing that 18-month requirement, which supporters say would allow more nurses to oversee student nurses. Supporters say that will increase the number of students who can enter a nursing program, graduate, and join the workforce.
If someone with less than 18 months experience has the skills to serve, we believe it's in the best interest of the students and the state to assign students to this individual.
Also under the bill, students training to be respiratory therapists could now train with child patients if supervised by a licensed respiratory therapist. Right now, respiratory therapy students can only work with adult patients. There was also testimony today about the staffing shortage at nursing schools. This bill would allow schools to hire more part-time staff to address that issue. House Bill 1259 passed unanimously out of committee this morning. It now heads to the full Senate, where lawmakers can offer more changes.
Hundreds of people, many with a debilitating and often deadly disease, gathered at the Statehouse today.
13 News reporter Emily Longnecker is there to share their message to lawmakers.
The disease is sickle cell disease, and some of the people who have it came here to the Statehouse today to tell lawmakers that there needs to be continued awareness about a disease that affects close to 1,700 Hoosiers. The chronic condition hardens a person's red blood cells, making them sticky and C-shaped, blocking the flow of blood. All of it can lead to severe pain, organ damage, infections, and sometimes a stroke. Of the Hoosiers with the rare blood disorder, 87% are black, with the highest incidence occurring in Marion and Lake counties. Many end up in hospital emergency rooms from the pain. That's why advocates say it's so important to spread awareness of the disease.
While we're young, we look like we traditionally fit the bill of those that have suffered from the opioid crisis. That is not our story. We have this thick layer of chronic pain, and then we have this acute pain that lives on top, and both deserve to be treated adequately.
Even though people may know of it, they may not understand all the complications and issues surrounding it. So there's always a constant need for educating.
In this session, there are no bills that deal with sickle cell disease, but the folks who came here today wanted to tell lawmakers that the conversation needs to continue. Now, last session, the state allocated more money to provide more access to care for sickle cell patients and to continue raising awareness.
Well, if you have a woman that you love in your life, it could be your mom, your wife, your daughter, your sister, a friend, an aunt, whatever, pay attention to this story because it's about women's health, and it's about a bill that's making its way through the Indiana State Legislature.
And it deals with one of the most frequently diagnosed cancers in women, breast cancer. 13 News Statehouse reporter Emily Longnecker is here to tell us what the bill does and why supporters say it will save lives. Emily?
Well, here's the bottom line. This year, according to the statistics, 5,400 Hoosiers will be diagnosed with breast cancer. And to put that in perspective, that's the entire population of Cicero. 900 of those diagnosed will die this year. That's the entire population of Shipshewana. This morning, lawmakers heard about a bill that supporters say will help with early detection and ultimately save some of those lives.
But also, too, it's a taboo subject.
One Heather Porowski isn't afraid to talk about, even in front of some of the most important people in Indiana. That's because Porowski has work to do. She knows she's likely living on borrowed time. Not an easy thing to face when she considers her husband and 2 sons, one in high school, one in college.
And odds are, I will not see them graduate.
Heather was diagnosed with inflammatory breast cancer in 2020.
A third of us are getting diagnosed at stage 3 and 4. If we were able to understand and catch, breast cancer early, it's a 99% survival rate.
Wednesday, Heather and others testified in support of House Bill 1058. It would require mammogram providers to send letters to patients after a mammogram and let them know if they have dense breasts, which makes cancer harder to see on a mammogram and also increases the risks of having it.
The new verbiage informs patients that they are at increased risk with dense breasts for breast cancer.
When I first had my mammogram in 2019, I did not know that mammograms do not work if you have dense breasts. My provider did not recommend that I have additional diagnostic testing. Within 1 year, my breast cancer spread.
Under the bill, doctors would also get a letter about recommending more testing to patients via an ultrasound or MRI, which can see cancer better in dense breasts. The FDA recently passed regulations requiring the same measures.
The whole goal is to detect breast cancer early.
Supporters of the bill, like Heather, say that will ultimately save lives. The bill passed unanimously out of committee this morning and now heads to the full Senate for consideration. At the Indiana Statehouse, Emily Longnecker, 13 News.